Good evening and good day for those who is now in the different time zone. As you understood, we will hold this event in English because we have participants from around 7 countries. My name is Irina. I represent the Organization for People with Disabilities Fight for Right, and I will moderate the discussion this evening. The aim of our webinars, which will be held today and tomorrow, is to attract attention to the problems women with disabilities face every day in their lives towards their success. We would like to inspire women with disabilities not to give up and fight for their rights, no matter what. We are very thankful to our partners who provided us translation today. It's IFS Ukraine, and for informational support, Zmina. Thank you very much that you are with us and you care about rights of people with disabilities. I give the floor to our host. Our host is Yuliia Sachuk, a current candidate to the CRPD Committee 2020, and she will present our speaker today, Anna. Yuliia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Irina, and good evening and good day for everyone. Thank you for finding time to meet us. And yes, today we will talk about women and girls with disabilities rights. As you know, maybe I have a disability from my birth. And now I am a candidate to the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities nominated by Ukraine. And it's a really huge responsibility for me to be here today and to be a candidate. And one of my strategic goals as a candidate is women and girls with disabilities rights protection. So we decided to organize an event with the most influential, the most impactful women and girls all over the world to show that women and girls with disabilities can do everything. And we need only not to violate our human rights. My path from the childhood to the point where I am now was really hard. From the childhood together with my family, together with my parents, I was fighting for my equality and human rights, for right to study in a regular school, to stay in a community. Later, my personal fight and struggle became more common for many people with disabilities in Ukraine, with whom we founded Fight for Right organization of people with disabilities. The mission of our organization is the full implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in Ukraine. And I'm really proud to be here with you, to have such experienced and really impactful women and girls from the world as our speakers. And together with women's rights, as a candidate to the committee, I will pay more attention on the rights of youth with disabilities, because I think that youth with disabilities is underrepresented in decision-making processes all over the world, especially in developing countries, and also at the UN treaty bodies. Young people with disabilities are among the poorest and most marginalized in the world's youth. Estimated suggest that there are between 180 and 220 million youth with disabilities worldwide, and near 80% of them live in developing countries. When I was 18 years old, I remember I was constantly bullied because of my disability during my study. It was such a struggle for me to accept myself, and later to start protecting not only my human rights, but also other people with disabilities in Ukraine. Our first speaker is Anna from Georgia, and Anna is a famous young female leader in Georgia. And the first question I'd like to ask Anna is about her leadership, her way of leadership, and her experience, because as 18-year-old woman, I think...
Я думаю, я пам'ятаю про те, що це дуже було важливо не лише бути лідером, а
impact you can make for the world, and especially for young people with disabilities. So Anna, tell us more about your experience of leadership in Georgia and worldwide, and especially about your initiative during lockdown in Georgia, fried potatoes, and how did you come up to it? The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for introducing me. So my name is Anna. I'm 18 years old, and this is my pleasure to talk about my experience with you today. Okay, so, I was very little when I didn't know what was leadership, and what does it mean, but I already was thinking about changing things. I'm not saying good words about myself, but it was like that. I wanted to change things all the time, especially when I would hear, some, discrimination facts about disabled people. I wanted to advocate them because, I myself am a disabled person, and it was very sensitive for me. I wanted to change things for us in Georgia, especially. About my leadership, it started when I became like 15 years old. I guess what was it? When I participated in Flex program, which I will talk about later. But after that, after coming back to Georgia from the United States, I guess that, there were many things to, what it needed to be changed for disabled people. I guessed it more before I could guess before. And what happened after that? After I started to, do some projects for disabled people and different things, then pandemic started and it stopped me. I was like, now what should I do? I have no way. I stayed at home and that's all. Maybe 1 or 2 weeks was only taking a rest from everything, but then I guess that I should start something new. I should start probably something which will help other young people. It doesn't matter if it's a person with disability or not. I should start something which will give some young people, give some opportunities to young people to share each other's experiences. And that's how fried potato came up in my mind. It was so fun. Why? Maybe you were asking, why do you call it fried potato? Mm-hmm. Well, this is for young people, and it should be fun. It's fun. Maybe let's say everyone loves fried potato in Georgia, and it should be something what's fun and what can teach you to many things. So that's how I decided to do that with another volunteers. And I actually want to thank them because they were with me. They were, planning these meetings with other young activists, and we're asking very interesting questions. What opportunities do Georgian young people have, and so on. So yeah.
Yulia?
Yes, sorry. Thank you very much for your answer. And in Ukraine, we also very like fried potatoes, and I really regret about that in Ukraine we didn't have such podcast, and I recommend for our guests to know more about this really great channel. And my next question will be about your experience as a exchange, as a student in the US Academy, as a FLEX program participant. Could you share your feedback regarding this experience? Describe the most positive things and maybe challenges you faced in the US.
Okay, so I'm also again, I'm going to start from the beginning. I had a dream to go to the United States. It was like I don't know. It was just a dream. I was only 4 years old, and I was saying, I want to go to the United States, but I don't know why. After that, time passed, and then I knew why I wanted to go to the United States, because, there were not many opportunities for people with disabilities in Georgia, and I wanted to see what was it like in the United States? How do the people with disabilities live in there, and what opportunities do they have? And I became 15 years old, and I knew about Flex program before from other people. And thanks to them, because they would share their experiences all the time, and it was very helpful for me. So when I became 15 years old, then I decided to, just participate once. I was saying that, oh, maybe it will not work. Maybe I need to participate one more time to go to the United States. But, it was only one time I participated, and I passed those, I don't know, how to say, those parts I needed to pass. So then one day they called me and told me that you are a finalist. And I was like, okay, now this is too difficult. The reason why I told you about a whole time, what was going on and stuff like that, is that then I got very scared. I was thinking that, now I'm with my family, they help me with everything and stuff like that, but how am I going to live in different country, in different environments? And, I was like, okay, you already did it. You gotta do this. You should go, because you need to see what's going on there. You need to see what's going there to change things in your country. Okay, I went to the USA, and it was so great. When they asked me, tell us some, challenges you faced in the United States, it is always very difficult for me, because everything looks very bright and positive for me. What was during that year. So when I got there, I guess that it was my comfort zone. Everything was very accessible for me. People were very nice. They did not have some stereotypical, opinions about me, and what made me very, I don't know, happy. And it's always very important to be in the environment when they do not treat you as a baby. And also there was time when I said in my speech that, please guys, do not treat blind people as the babies, because yeah, they do sometimes. And I'm like, no, I'm the almost same person as you are. Like, I can do things as you do and stuff like that, and I'm not the angel. So I wasn't feeling that in the United States, and it was very helpful for me. Also, like, school was very accessible for me. Everything was, like.
It was my next question about accessibility. Yes, because
Oh, okay, I'll go on then.
In one of the program for one of the professional training program, and I was really surprised about total accessibility of everything, information, infrastructure, and you also have such a feeling, yeah?
Yeah, and see, like, they are always prepared when they know that, for example, we have a blind student. Well, no one knew my name, no one knew my age, they knew nothing, but they knew that I was a person who had some, accommodations, like what I mean, right? And it should be accepted. So it was very important for me when I would go to the class and I would have braille notes. So this is very important. No one is going to do the same thing in Georgia, in Georgian public school, I mean, not like school for the blind as we have in Georgia, but in the public school. And teachers were very, very, I don't know, prepared all the time. They would, if there was, for example, the video which we would like watch during the class, they would come to me and describe everything what was going on the screen. And I don't know, it was so good for me and so great experience for me. So I was like, when I was leaving the United States, I cried. This is so fun because it was not as difficult. Like, it was not living. I'd say it was that difficult to leave Georgia as it was leaving the USA. I was like, why am I crying? I'm going to see my family. I'm going to, like, see my family, which I have not seen for a year, but I'm crying. It was fun, but yeah, it was so great experience. I don't know. I always say that year was the brightest hour in my life.
Yes, it's very familiar feeling for me, and yes, I really understand and feel about what you talk. And regarding your experience in studying, tell me please, from what age you learned English language, and maybe your basis which help you to become a finalist of the Flex program and to travel to USA?
So in general, a Flex program doesn't mean that like you should know English like on high level, you can probably know, I don't know, maybe like U1 or A2, or I don't know how exactly what level do they ask you, but the main thing to become a Flex finalist is you have to show them like you have to show them your leadership. How can you lead the situation? How can you, for example, make some decisions independently and stuff like that. How can you be without your family when you are like, for example, 15, 16, 17, you know, it's not too easy, to be honest. Let me tell you this. When I left Georgia, I went to Moldova, and I was saying that, I did not have any difficulties, but yes, I did have difficulties. It was not about accessible issues, but it was about me, that I did not know how to communicate with people. Okay, I'm saying something that maybe some people will not get what I'm saying, but before I would go to School for the Blind, which has only like 48 students. And I would have like everyday communication with only like 2 or 3 people, right? And now I'm with 30 students every day, and I'm too scared to say things. Well, it was only for 3 days, because after that, our leaders and other students were so great, and they became my friends. And now we are continuing with this friendship, and you know, we sometimes text each other, call each other, and yeah, it's different now, but at that time it was very, very difficult for me. And you know, when I told it to, you know, some people who knew me before, they were actually they asked me, are you serious? What are you talking about? You're so like a communicative person and stuff like that. How did it happen to you? But it happened. Yes. Even though they saw a leader in my personality, I had difficulty to communicate with people at some point.
Yes, it's also very familiar, and yes, I understand totally. And I think my maybe last question will be about, first of all, I know that you are Youth European Ambassador. This is a really great achievement, and I congratulate you. And I'd like to ask, do you have any plans and possibilities to advance the human rights of youth with disabilities by means of this opportunity?
I have to start from when I became a Young European Ambassador. They were asking me, why do you want to become a Young European Ambassador? And I said, I want to become a Young European Ambassador because I want to show another people that people with disabilities can do everything. Yes, there are disabilities, but it doesn't mean that we only need to do things sometimes by alternative ways, right? But we can still do same things as everyone does.
And I'd like to add that I have one of my famous, I don't know, sentences. I often said that we people with disabilities can more than usually expected from us, and yes, it's really very close to you.
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean, like, I don't know, why should I not be, for example, a university student because of I'm a blind person? No, oh my God, I really can be a university student. I can be a, for example, politician. I can be everything what everyone can be. So I don't know. Yes, of course. I will go back to that, what I was talking about, that, you know, that was the main reason. I wanted to show everyone that, you know, nothing is impossible. And I wanted to spread awareness about people with disabilities to more people. Because in Georgia, even though it's 21st century, many people do not know about people with disabilities. And that's why I decided to, for example, become Young European Ambassador. Also, I started a new project which called actually Code for Equality. And why Code for Equality? Because Code made everyone like equal. Everyone stayed at home, and now I decided to, it's time for educating people. So we started to give more information, more positive information about people with disabilities, and we had actually some workshops for that. And now we are planning to do like big conference where non-disabled people are going to talk about challenges of people with disabilities. What makes me very happy, because before I would think that non-disabled people are not interested in challenges which are faced by people with disabilities. But I guess that there are some people who are interested in it, and yes, they share it, and yes, they are going to talk about it. And yes, I don't know, I tell other people with disabilities to encourage other people to talk about it, and encourage other non-disabled people to talk more about it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Anna. I really think that your achievements is really important, and you show the best example for thousands of young people with disabilities, especially women and girls with disabilities. And I am totally think that some years in the future we will meet, I don't know, maybe in one of the diplomatic events or high-level political events, and you will be one of the world political leaders.
I hope so, and thanks for inviting me. It was so great opportunity for me, and it was my pleasure. Thank you again.
From my side, Anna, thank you very much for sharing with us your story. I would like to say that you received a lot of positive comments in the chat. A lot of people complimented you for your perfect English. And there are also people who are sharing their own stories and relating to the fact that they were also crying leaving United States. So that story touched a lot of people. And now
I'm pretty sure about it. Yeah.
And now I'll give the floor to Yulia, which can present our next speaker, Carolyn Casey.
Thank you, Irina. And regarding Carolyn, I have, I don't know, life story. And first of all, maybe I think that most of you know that there are more than 1.3 billion people in the world with different types with disabilities. And I'm among them. I have had disabilities since birth, as I said, and for 38 years I have different relations with my disability. I was trying to fight it, to benefit from it, and mostly not to know it. But everything has changed only when I accepted my disability and understand that disability doesn't define me as a person. My disability doesn't identify any person in the world. Our dreams, beliefs, and abilities are not limited by disability. And the last one, human values of any person in the world, is not in his or her disability. So from that time, I have a dream about space trip. And I believe one day I would make it. I met Carolyn at a conference in Vienna in this February. I couldn't see her because she was leading the event from the stage. But for 10 seconds, when I heard her, I whispered to my colleague, she is like me, but updated super version of me. Later, colleagues said that Carolyn also has visual impairment, and it was a really special sign for me. Then I read a lot about the incredible changes that Carolyn is making in the world regarding disability business inclusions. Her speech at TEDx became an inspiration for many women with and without disabilities worldwide. And of course, I am one of them. Dear Carolyn, thank you for being a true role model and showing for women with disabilities and girls with disabilities worldwide that we can change this world, and you're a great example of it. And firstly, I'd like to ask you to describe us how is to be Carolyn, how about your way from such standard way of life with disability or life despite a disability to real free life as a famous worldwide TED speaker, successful social entrepreneur, and really world leader and change maker, Carolyn Casey. So good evening.
Well, some days that you don't think that you're doing enough. And today I'm having a bad disability day. Today I'm struggling and I'm fighting with my eyesight. So to hear you think that I am adding value or that I'm making change happen is really important, and I really appreciate it. So I'm going to answer your question in the most honest way I can. How is it to be Carolyn Casey? Well, today is a day where I wish that I could see your faces. Today's the day that I wish that I could see the technology. I feel more blind now than I have ever done. I have a condition called ocular albinism. I was born in 1971. I'm 49 years old a few weeks ago. And when I was born, my parents noticed my eyes were different, and they discovered that I had this condition when I was 6 months old. They did not want my life to be defined by this disability. I live in Ireland, I'm Irish, and disability wasn't really fully accepted or understood then. And so they hid my disability from me to give me the greatest chance to be the person I wanted to be with all my dreams. And I went to a normal school, and I didn't know that I was any different to any other child who had a pair of glasses. But let me explain to those of you who can see, I have my hand in front of my face, less than 1 foot. After my hand, the whole world is blurry, as if you were to put a cream over your eyes. At 17 years old, my father gave me one driving lesson. He gave me the driving lesson because he wanted me to believe that I always would and could. But I obviously found out on that day that I was registered blind. I hid from that day. I didn't understand. And I didn't know how I would be Caroline if I had this new label. And so I consciously hid my sight for a further 11 years. And I had an extraordinary adventure. There's a beautiful quote from Maya Angelou. There's no greater agony than an untold story inside you. Self-acceptance for all of us, whether we have a disability or not, is really hard. What's so hard about self-acceptance is how the world decides whether we're good enough. And I don't know about any of you, but listening to Anna made me think I wish I'd had Anna's courage when I was that age. But I never saw an Anna then. I never saw somebody like me. And I thought if they knew that I couldn't see, I wouldn't belong. I want to belong. I don't want to fit in. I want to belong as my wonderful, unique self. And I want all of you to belong as your wonderful, unique selves. I want you to rock your difference. I don't want you to have to justify or make a case for why you should be included, to appease they. Who decides whether we are valuable or not? 20 years ago, I finally came out of the disability closet when I was working for a global firm called Accenture. They never knew that I couldn't see. And I laugh and I say, well, how smart does that make the management consultant? But it was on that date that I finally decided not only did I want to be free to be me, but I wanted to try and eradicate this crazy world where disability is always on the sidelines. And the only way that I knew how to do that is through business. And I've done that for 18 or 19 years. And what I am in the middle of right now, and this is a very long answer to your question, is I am tired of business saying we have other priorities. Gender, race, LGBTQ, ice caps. I'm like, what about the 1.3 billion people in the world who have a disability and their mothers and fathers? That's 73% of our population. We don't want your charity. We don't want your pity. We want you to see our value. We bring insight. We bring innovation. We bring resource. We're consumers worth 8 trillion. We have talent and we are an opportunity for growth. And the only way that we knew how to make sure that business stopped ignoring us was to get leaders. And after 20 years of fighting this fight, when my father died very unexpectedly a few years ago, through the loss of him and through the grief, I was like, no more excuses. So we launched the Valuable 500, which was this iconic search to get 500 of the world's most intentional CEOs and their companies to commit to putting disability equally into their inclusion agenda. Today, we have 353 companies. And I should be proud, and I am proud, because it's not only 2 years. And everybody said I was crazy. They said I was the crazy Irish girl. But today I'm frustrated because it's not going fast enough. Because I read an email from one of the world's biggest companies that says in this email, Caroline, we love what you do. You're an inspiration. I don't want to be an inspiration. But this year we're focusing on gender and race. And in 2022, we will consider rostering disability onto our agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, and I feel there's a lot more ladies on this call. You know what? This is the decade for disruption. We need all of us to use our voices like Anna. We are talent and potential. This world cannot be inclusive without people with disabilities and our families. It's a delusion. 90% of our companies claim they are passionate about inclusion, and only 4% consider disability delusion. You can't have a la carte inclusion. So when I read that email today, I went outside, I jumped up and down, I put on really loud music and I had a cry. And I didn't have a cry for me. I had a cry because how on earth are we still having this conversation that we're deciding to pit humanity against each other? Each and every one of us, no matter how we are packaged, are beautifully unique. The greatest chance that we have to change this is you, the younger generation, your voice, your pride in yourself, your challenge to business, your ownership of who you are individually and uniquely you. No company, no leader, no society should prioritize anyone over anyone else. And lastly, I want to say to you, just exactly as been said, I am not defined by my fact that I can't see. I am Caroline. I'm Carolyn Casey. I happen to be registered blind. I come from Ireland. I'm a woman. I've blonde hair. I'm a brilliant dancer. I'm an excellent elephant handler. I love racing motorbikes and cars. I have dreams that will go on forever. I have love in my life. I have hope, and I will never be told that we are not a priority, because we all are. Inclusion is not a choice, it's essential. And I just want to thank all of you for using your voices and doing what I did not have the courage to do years ago. Owning who you are. Own who you are, all of the bits of who you are, not just your disability. But I will say to you, our disabilities is a great opportunity for our resourcefulness and for innovation. The world needs us now. Look how much they've had to, the business world, rely on some of the innovations that we have used for many years to make their companies accessible. We need to move from niche to normal. And I just want to thank your part of the world to being part of this tribe. Don't settle for anything less than everything. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Caroline. And you know, I don't know how to express my feelings, my personal feelings, but I understand that I'm really small, you know, human rights defender from Ukraine. But very often, when I heard from our officials, when I heard from our businesses that disability is not priority, I have very similar feelings. And to continue to work in this sphere after all of these words, you know, it's really, I don't know how to describe this emotion. But what I totally agree with you, that disability is always should be a priority for world leaders, for business leaders, and for politicians. And could I ask you about, because in 21st century, for example, in Ukraine, and also I think in other countries of the world, we often still hear and still meet people who promote segregation for people with disabilities. They speak about special needs schools, limited job opportunities, closed institutions for living. And what arguments do you find in such situation in favor of inclusion and equality?
Well, firstly, I want to say you're not on your own, and you're never too small to make change happen. I was an Irish woman. I was 28 years old, and I began this work, and nobody knew me, not a celebrity, didn't have money. I was just a person who wanted to do something, and I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew what I wanted to do. And it is extraordinary for me now to think about what's happened in the last 20 years, let alone the last 18 months, and what we've made happen. You are not too small to make change. I don't know how many people are on this Zoom call, because I can't see. I don't know how many boxes are here.
I also don't know.
But I mean, I'm guessing there's a few boxes, right? Guys, I'd love you to unmute your boxes and just make a noise, because first of all, I think there's more than just one or two of us on this call. And every one of us who's on this call have people and friends that love us, right? Absolutely.
Right.
And that's the ripple. This is not just about us. This is about all of us. And it's different in every part of the world. Disability is seen differently. But the one thing that we have in common is we are all human beings. And you know something? Right now, the greatest chance is you guys under the age of 35 have tools that we didn't have. You have a voice and you have tools that we didn't have when we were that age. That cannot be ignored. Use your minds, your hearts, which is so important. This is not just about data and research. I can give you all the data and research, but this is about you using your heart and your head. And what we need to do is find places for all of you to be sitting at a table. We don't need to hear Carolyn Casey speak anymore. If any of you, Anna, if you'd like to speak instead of me, let me know and I will put you on a platform, because that's what makes the difference. Hearing the voices. People like me need to get out of the way and give other people voices all around the world. We don't need to be in the same country anymore because we can be on Zoom. So if any of you want to speak at any of our events to business and feel passionate, please get in touch, because that's how you can. The second thing you can do is support each other in the work that we're doing. You know, we don't necessarily all have to do or believe in the same thing, but we can be allies for each other. And that noise together, that means they can't ignore us, right? They can't ignore all of these voices. They say disability is the biggest minority group in the world. Guys, don't you think it's hilarious that 15% of our global population is a minority group? Really? That's not a minority. This is a significant number of people. So our biggest job is to work with each other and work together. The third thing is we should promote what is being done right and well and celebrate that. And lastly, the most important thing that we can do as a person with a lived experience of disability is help people understand. Make it safe for them to ask the question. And what we also need to do is to challenge them when they make an assumption. What I say, it is okay that you know nothing, but it is not okay that you don't do something. Make it personal, because every single person on this planet knows and loves somebody who has a disability. That's a fact. So find the personal way to connect. We are not widgets, we're human beings. So they're my 4 pieces. Support each other, make sure we make it safe for people to ask our questions, come collectively together so people can't ignore us. And just most importantly, you are not too small to make a change. I've got seats and platforms. If you guys want to use your voices, come, because together we can make the noise.
Thank you. Very great and inspirational. And I think my last question, and I really appreciate that you're here and you can share with us your experience implementing what human right you personally consider as the most important to achieve your goals.
The most important what?
Human right.
Oh my gosh. I think I said this at the beginning. It's the right to belong. I think the most important human right in the world is the right to be free, to belong, to be self-determining. I don't want anybody to decide what my life is or the people that I love. It's a right to belong and to contribute as we need to contribute uniquely. That's the most important thing. I want everybody to be visible. The one thing that has upset all of us in this pandemic is the thing that was said at the beginning of the pandemic. People said, oh, COVID, it's the great equalizer. It's not a great equalizer. It's blown open the injustice and inequity in our worlds. You know what frightens me most about what's happened in this pandemic? One thing that worries me is the world stopped. But 30 million people a year are dying in parts of our world, and the world never stopped before this pandemic. So whose life do we value? And on the good side, so what has this pandemic shown us? Well, if you all have a little time tonight, I'd love you to listen to a song by Leonard Cohen called Anthem. And he has a quote in it. It's the cracks where the light gets in. This is the decade of disruption. We have to make this pain worth something. Every one of us has a right to belong, to be free, to express ourselves, to contribute, to be self-determining and reach our potential. Do not be quiet now. Use your heads and your hearts. Use your humanity, because this is the crack where we get to build back, and we do not compromise. We say no one gets left behind. Everyone has the right to belong. And that's our choice. It's in our hands. And you don't have to be Richard Branson or some big celebrity to sort that out. We just need to join forces together and be a whole load of lights around the world. And that's possible. And if you think it's not possible, when I started the Valuable 500, they said I was crazy. We now have 13 million employees around the world backing this. As I said, 353 companies. It's possible.
Yes, I also think that everything is possible. And from my really childhood, I used to hear these words, "You're crazy." And dear Carolyn, thank you once again to joining us and to be so really addicted to what you are doing. And I just want to say that we are really appreciate and thankful. And you know, in my 37 years, you became the first person, woman with whom I can understand that you're really like me, or I like you, and feel this solidarity and support. So thank you for finding time to join us today. And from my side, I can promise to be beside you, beside people with disabilities, women and girls with disabilities, because, as I said, my biggest treasure as a human rights activist, as a human rights defender, to have respect, to have this, you know, feeling of belonging, and to be a representative of our community. So thank you very much for joining us today.
I would like to thank you also from my side, Carolyn. Answering your questions, at the webinar, we have around 35 participants. And also this webinar is transmitted to Facebook, different pages. So around 100 people are also watching us as well in Facebook. You receive so many positive and supporting comments. I'm afraid I won't be able to read them all. I just can read you some of them. And all the rest, I promise that I will send you in a Word format. So when you feel alone and you would like to hear support, you can read just these comments, because they're truly amazing. We have a comment from Liz. She writes, "I hear you, Carolyn. Believe me, I see and hear your value. Thank you for being you. You are enough." Then we have a comment from Daria. "I somehow never make it clear I have a disability. Not that I would hide it, but I never really put it up. Today I'm an online tutor and I'm proud of doing a chance in people's lives. I'm proud of you two girls. You are stronger than you all think." Also, we have some people shared their emails with you. If you write, I don't know with what aim, please write in the comment, but I understood that some of them wrote, like, if you need something, there are experts from Georgia and all around the world, from Canada, and they wrote, like, if you need something, you can contact them freely. It's very nice and kind of you. From Esma, we have a comment. It is still so great that you could not know that you have a disability until you were 17 years old, that nobody bullied you because of that. Nobody teased you, nobody pointed a finger at you before then.
Oh, they did bully me, but they didn't bully me because of my disability. They bullied me because I was different and always falling over. So I was bullied.
And we have also one question.
Yep.
If you could answer
Sure.
short on it, we know that you have a very busy schedule. This question is from a very successful Ukrainian lawyer with disability. She asks, what do you think about quotas for people with disabilities?
You know, I never liked the idea of quotas. However, sometimes I'm starting, or maybe as I grow older, and I've heard a beautiful expression from Paul Pullman, who's our chairman, we treasure what we measure. There's something about that. So I don't know if I'm for them or not for them. But if we don't have targets and we don't make it visible, then maybe things won't get done. But it can't be the only way. Quotas cannot be the only way. In OECD countries, 50% of our companies would rather pay a fine than employ people with disabilities. So that doesn't work. So we've got to use, as I say, the data and our hearts, our heads and our hearts. And so I think it needs to be more than quotas if we have quotas.
Very good point. Thank you very much. And we also have the comment from Madina. She said, thank you for the motivation. As a person who was born with disability, cerebral palsy, and raised in post-Soviet country, I find this conversation very precious, very on time. Thank you for that. And all the rest of the comments, I promise I will send you via email. Thank you for such a true and very open conversation. We really hope that a lot of women with disabilities from Ukraine and all over the world, which is present at the moment at the webinar, got inspired and understood that they should not give up no matter what, because it's life, and life is never easy to anyone, regardless disability. So thank you very much again.
Thank you. And I say, as I leave you, all I'm going to say is, do not play small, any of you, okay? No playing small. Go out and spread those wings and be big. And thank you for having me and making this part of my day the best part of today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. And with thanks for Carolyn, I'd like to thank all our participants. I believe that you receive the sufficient feelings, emotions, and as Carolyn said, we are all different, but we are all beautiful. And I really think that women with disabilities, girls with disabilities could run this world, could be impactful, could be influential. And I think that the next time we would see more leaders, more bold politicians, more bold businesswomen with disability. And have a great continuation of the day or evening as in Ukraine. And thank you for joining us. I just remember that this webinar was a part of my pre-election campaign as a candidate from Ukraine to the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability. And as our speaker said, I am totally addicted to human rights of people with disabilities. And I really hope to have this possibility to influence the changes, the positive changes in the situation with human rights of people with disabilities around the world. Thank you and good evening or good day.
Goodbye to everyone. I would just like to remind you that tomorrow we have another event with our speaker from Australia. She is an amazing leader. She is deaf, and she was the first deaf jury in Australia. So tomorrow she will share her experience, how she fought in her life in order to achieve success. Currently, she lives in Canada, so she will be very happy to see all of you tomorrow as well. Good evening and see you tomorrow.
Good evening and good luck.
So true.